So in this next video, we're going to talk about the new improvements to the Vectorworks Cloud Services for Vectorworks Service Pack 3. There's going to be some really nice improvements to performance because the Unity-based Nomad and Web View has now been improved dramatically, and this means that you can run really large files really smoothly, both on the desktop but also on iOS devices. So we'll take a look at that. For those of you who use Google Drive, there's a new integration with Google Drive and also Microsoft OneDrive. We also have Dropbox integration, but that was there before. And you will find that now with new regional storage improvements, i.e. local service to your geographical location, that the speed of upload and download from the service, cloud services, is vastly improved. And this should also make the uploads much more reliable as well. And finally, basically with Vectorworks Nomad, we've also got Apple integration using the Apple Files app. And finally, we do have Lidar point cloud support in the Nomad application as well. So what we'll do, let's go into take a look at some of these features and see how these can benefit your workflow using Service Pack 3 of Vectorworks 2022. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the new improvements in the Vectorworks Cloud Services in Vectorworks Service Pack 3. Now I'm going to use a real project that I did a little while ago for a new eco home that I got planning for this summer, which I was very pleased about. And you can see it's a really nice little project, all developed using the BIM method of modelling in Vectorworks, where you can basically generate nice floor plans, but also your 3D model at the same time. You'll notice the project is just divided up in some simple layers, and actually what this does is reference into the site file, which is why there's no site context in this file. But you will notice that I've got a number of drawings, both sort of floor plans of different levels of detail, and most importantly I've got things like some elevations. Now I'll just click update. You'll see that these elevations are nicely rendered from my model, and they'll take a few moments to do the updating. But what can happen is some of them can take a while, depending on the quality of the rendering, to do the updates. So what I'm going to do with these other ones, which aren't yet updated as you can see, is we're going to go ahead and do the cloud publishing. So to access your cloud publish, you just go to the cloud menu and go to cloud publish. You can also access it directly from the file menu as well, and the normal publish command there. But let's bring up the cloud publish option here. And you'll notice the first thing you can do is choose the required drawings to send across. Let's just do a selection of those, send them across for publishing. Of course, I do have all the usual PDF exports, things like naming and things like the quality settings. Let's just leave it on as it is on the highest quality. Okay, so you will notice the three options down here in this bottom left corner. We can process locally, or we can store and process on the cloud. So when I click publish, it will basically say that the active document is not saved in its current state if I haven't saved it recently. So just click save now. That saves the document. This is now asking me if I'd like to record a set of drawings. If I do want to, I can call this client issue and give it a date. Basically, let's go ahead and put those drawings into this folder here, and we'll just click publish. Now you notice it took very little time to actually save the drawing, and it's still open in the background here. But basically my Vectorworks Cloud Services icon is now moving, as you can see up in the top corner of the screen. So if I click onto the icon here, this will basically open the status dialog. And this is useful because I can now see that I've just done the publishing, and basically that is syncing or uploading as we speak. So that's the first sort of stage. And then once it's done that, it will basically generate those PDFs automatically for me. So let's just come back in a few moments and have a look at those PDF files. That's almost done. As you can see, I've got fairly good internet here at the office, and that's pretty much done. So now it looks like it's moving on to the next stage, and so on. So what we'll do, we'll come back in a second and we'll take a look at the resulting PDFs that are being generated from the project. So here we can see the PDFs being processed, and you can see the progress bar here is actually moving quite rapidly. If we click on the information, there's information about how long the job's going to be. It definitely won't be 23 hours, there's no way. It's going much faster than that. In fact, the good thing about the Vectorworks Cloud is it's processing on very powerful servers, so that it means that it can use, real computational power to crunch those renders. And this is basically offloading. It means that I can now carry on with my project, happily working away in sort of real time, developing the designs, and every time I need to republish, I can just go to Cloud Publish once again. So it's a very effective way of offloading some of the sort of hard work of the publishing side and the rendering side. Okay, so let's go and review these PDFs. Basically, I'm just going to pop open to my cloud icon and we can review these on the desktop. Let's move it across here. And you'll notice that I've got my PDFs that were generated directly on the cloud and not on my computer. I'm just going to check and they all look fantastic. They'll be exactly the same as if you generated them on the desktop. But the real beauty is all these renderings were done on the cloud and not using my computer. So it meant that I was free to get on with some other work instead at the same time. So I really, really recommend using the cloud to speed up your workflow and use intelligently as and when you're under pressure from deadlines to kind of help with those sort of big renders particularly. Things like 2D drawings don't matter. When you come onto the renderings, especially when you get onto final quality or Redshift renders, it definitely takes a bit more time to render those. So the cloud is there for you. So very nice improvement. One other really nice benefit of the cloud services is that we can basically render up using Redshift even if we don't have Redshift supported on our particular computers. Now, I'm lucky enough to have the Mac M1 processor. You can see I've just got the nice laptop with the base model and it works really well for Redshift. So if I do want to, I can just go down to my Redshift rendering, choose, let's go for Redshift Interior Fast. And if I click update, you'll notice it will kind of render up reasonably quickly. But if you don't have a graphics card that can support the Redshift rendering, then you won't be able to do this. The good thing though, with the new cloud services, it will actually support Redshift for you. So you're welcome to use that even if your computer doesn't actually support it. Now you can see this was just a fast render and it's gone pretty quickly. You can see a few artifacts and so on as well, but the lighting looks good and the general sort of level of quality of the rendering is pretty nice. So I definitely recommend looking at the Redshift rendering. It's much faster and much improved. But now with the fact that we can actually render that up on the cloud, let's just go ahead and render that one image. So we'll just do that one internal view. Just check we've got store and publish on the cloud. Click publish. Of course, you do need to just save the document one more time, just so it has the latest update on the cloud if you like. And I don't need to save a set. Let's go ahead and open that folder. Okay, so the Vectorworks Cloud has now completed the Redshift rendering and it looks really nice and it took no time at all on my desktop publishing. Excellent. Now if we go into the settings, just while that's rendering, I just want to highlight a couple of extra settings in here. So you've got some nice little kind of preferences that you can do here, where you can actually kind of keep things synced and backed up as well. You can also use Vectorworks project files by the look of things too. So that's cool. You can change your cloud services folder if needed. If you go to integrations, this is where you'll see some of the new integrations that have been added with Service Pack 3. We've had Dropbox for a while, but you've now got Google Drive, OneDrive, and also Bluebeam is there too. There's some other options in here that you can have a look at. We'll just go back and have a quick look at any other settings here. If you do need to get a tour, just click onto the tour button and this will basically take you through all the really kind of good access and information about the cloud itself. So very, very nice indeed. So I just want to highlight a few extra things that we can do with the cloud. So as well as looking at the progress and status and actually the cloud services folder, we can actually launch the application on the browser. Now I'm using Google Chrome at the moment. Obviously you can set whichever browser you would like. But you'll notice here we are live on the cloud and I'm logged in and basically all the files that I see both on my desktop are here as well. There's a couple of extra settings I just want to draw your attention to. If we go to your preferences for a second, this is where you can actually change the region. So if I did want to, I could actually change the region to Europe and that would actually give me better performance. So I think after this webinar, I will do that. Just click that and apply. But let's leave that for now. You can also generate the quality settings for your PDFs as well, from low to very high. So that's useful. And finally, you can also do things like font substitutions if needed. So if you do find fonts missing or anything like this, you can kind of sort this out directly in the cloud services as well. The final thing is you can manage the notifications you receive. Now, all of this is very useful just to tell you if jobs are failing or when jobs are completed as well. So definitely take a look at the services there. So let's go back to our home folder. Now, if I wanted to, at any time, I could right-click on a file and I could do a number of things. So not only could I download it to kind of put it onto a different computer, I could actually share it with someone else, or I could just share the link to the file. But you'll notice that I can also generate PDFs directly, as well as doing it from my Vectorworks application. I can actually generate those PDFs directly from here if needed. But the thing I really wanted to show you at this stage is how we can generate a 3D model. Okay, so this is how we can actually generate a VGX file of our project. You can see that the job has now been submitted, and just give me a second while that updates. Let's just have a quick look at the progress. There we go, you can see it's now generating one of my renders here, but it's also generating the VGX file as we speak. So in a moment we'll be able to open that up and actually come and view it as well. So you can see it's pretty quick to generate. It doesn't take too long at all. So here is my VGX file, for example. Let's right click and click View to open up that file. You'll notice it takes a few moments to download into the viewer, and then once it's in there, we'll be able to navigate around our file and have a look at our project in a viewer that basically is available to absolutely everybody. Now, there's some really nice improvements in the new viewer. It's now based on the Unity application, which, as you know, is a sort of big gaming company who do lots of real-time sort of rendering and so on. So I just want to demonstrate some of the features here. So the first one is if you click onto the home button, that basically just takes you home in case you get lost. The second thing is you left click to position your sort of point of rotation. So now you can rotate around a more convenient point in the model. Obviously you can use the mouse to wheel in and wheel out, and if you're ready to kind of do a bit of walking around, you can click onto the footsteps, and this means that we can now navigate in around using the keys on the keyboard. Okay, so this is going to be the traditional WASD keys. Now anytime, if you right click, you can actually teleport as well. So I can right click and teleport to different areas of my project and kind of explore those as I would like. Let's go back into just panning around. There we go. So we get a nice view here. So that's all really, really good. We can kind of navigate around our project and we can kind of teleport to certain areas as well. I think we could probably teleport inside if needed. Let's just kind of go down there and let's teleport back to this location. So let's just kind of go outside and let's just have a look at these shadows. So if I kind of swing the light round, now you can really kind of understand the shadows on the project. Let's just spin around the view, let's go there, kind of come back a bit more. Sometimes it can be, I will tell you, it's a little bit fiddly to control. So yeah, you definitely need your driving license, as it were, to control this. But now you can see it's really nice. I could essentially do a sort of real-time simulation of the light if I'd orientated my model correctly as well. And basically I can turn those shadows on and off. I can also change the quality of the shadows if I want to bring them up to high level. Just swing that light round again. You can see they're nice and crisp now. So that looks really good. Okay, so what we'll do, let's just pop back to home. And I want to show you another function which is really nice, the clip cube. So now basically we have a clip cube function. And look at that, looks absolutely fantastic. Basically we've got our clip cube. Enable that or disable it at any time just by clicking on the icon and basically turning it off and turning it back on again. So now I'm back into kind of orbit mode. I can kind of orbit around my project. Let's turn off the footsteps and just orbit round. And you can get a really good impression of the floor plan. Now the biggest benefit of this is not necessarily for you or I who got Vectorworks, but for your client. Or your team of collaborators who may not have a copy of Vectorworks available, but they still might want to kind of get involved in the project and actually kind of comment on, you know, understanding the space and so on. So what do you think of those new improvements? I'm really impressed by not only the speed, the fact that you can kind of navigate around really, really smoothly, But also I really like the new sort of shadows that you can kind of improve and turn on as well. And actually makes a big difference for things like floor plans, just to kind of get that readability. Now there are a few other settings in here if needed, things like the speed, the projections as well. You'll notice you can actually go into orthogonal mode as well, which is really cool. So in orthogonal mode, it looks kind of nice. Excellent. So this is the viewer. Let's just turn off our clip cube and click home to get back out. So if you do get lost, you click on the home button and that will basically take you back to where you were at the beginning of the project. So the new viewer, this is VGX file, and I will show you in a minute how we can view this on an iPad, on an iPhone, for a different project as well. But I hope you've enjoyed this sort of Vectorworks Cloud Services demo for this particular project. So Vectorworks Nomad has been around for a number of years now, but with Service Pack 3 there's some really big improvements, including the integration of the Unity engine under the hood. So let's take a look at this on my iPad and my iPhone. This is very exciting. It's something that we can share with anybody all over the world using pretty much any device. So let's just hop into this demonstration. So just before we have a look at the Nomad viewer on my iPad in a moment, I wanted to show you how it works on an iPhone. So I've got an iPhone 13 and I can view this file in 3D. Now you'll be astounded at the performance that you're getting. You can see here's the first project I was looking at for the Twinmotion demo, and it's really responsive. Now it's a bit harder to navigate around on the phone, definitely a little bit easier on the iPad, but you can see it's very responsive and very smooth. And we actually have all of the same functions we have on the iPad, just on a smaller screen. So the interface, as I say, is a little bit different to allow for the smaller screen size, but you can see it's perfectly capable of doing things like cutting sections and so on. So you can imagine if you were out on site and you needed to show something to the contractor while you're out on site, this would be extremely convenient because you could get the office to email over the file. You could generate a VGX and then you could basically sit with the contractor and show him exactly what you wanted to communicate. Also really useful for clients as well. So all of the functionality is there, both on the phone and the iPad. As I say, the only real difference is the interface is a little bit more spacious on the iPad side of things. But in terms of navigating around, you can see it's very smooth. I really like the new fidelity of the image with the new shadows. And I love the new clip cube. I think that's an absolute brilliant feature that I'll definitely be making use of a lot more. It's pretty self-explanatory to learn how to use the app, and I definitely recommend you ask your clients to start to look at. If you do want to, you can go into the layer control, and this project you can see I can easily just turn off the roof. So that means we can peer into the first floor and get a really good understanding of how that sort of space works inside the project. So definitely something that's fun to do. As I say, let's have a look at it on the iPad now. So just before we move on to the next project, I wanted to show you one more mode, which is the AR or augmented reality mode that you can also use on the iPad. So it's just a quick example where you can basically place your model onto a surface. We can zoom in a bit here, as you can see. And then basically it's really nice, we can walk around and explore the project almost as if it was in sort of augmented reality. I mean, obviously this isn't the right context or site for this project at all, but it's just really a quick example of how you might be able to explore the design. Now, one thing you want to do is try and sort of, place it in the natural environment if you can, if that's at all feasible. But you notice it really is quite responsive. I like the way you've got these lovely shadows as well, so it looks quite realistic, and the textures have come across extremely nicely. You can zoom in and zoom out with a pinch of the finger, and if you do want to, you can kind of revolve the model around. But otherwise, if you just walk around, the model stays where it is, and as you can see, the background will change, and you get basically the view of the project potentially in its context. Let's just explore around to the front of the project here, to this building here, so you can see the garage and then the front here. Now if you go down to sort of eye level and then kind of move forward, you should be able to kind of get inside the building in a second. We'll do that. Let's just go around for a full sort of 360 degrees. One thing you're going to want to do here is try and keep the iPad nice and stable. And here we go, here we can see I'm basically kind of walking into the space. Let's go down a bit. And I think this is pretty cool in that you can actually see the view out the windows potentially of your project in its context. And you can kind of explore around the design, and it's fun to do, definitely. I say the navigation with these things always a bit tricky, so definitely something that needs a little bit of practice. I think the augmented reality mode is a nice additional benefit. It's definitely something that you can try for certain projects. Let's just get down to that eye level again, sort of get a bit of an impression of how it might look to be sort of looking into that balcony area. As you can see, you can pop the settings open and we can adjust things like the lighting and turn the shadows on and off as well. So all the controls that you're going to see in the other application are there. And I really like the fact you can kind of have layer control. So as the model was developed in these simple layers, I can go around and look at it without the roof on and get a really good impression of how that kind of space works up on that first floor. So, you know, you've got all the controls that you would expect in a sort of navigation program, but this sort of augmented reality mode is something that's definitely been dramatically enhanced by the new Unity engine in the viewer. As I say, the only thing is just to kind of practice the sort of navigation a little bit more. But what do you think? I think that's really nice and potentially very useful in certain projects, in certain contexts. So it's definitely something I would recommend you have a little play with, and I'll look forward to showing you another project in a moment on my iPad, and this is going to be for a very, very large project, unlike this one, which is just a small house. And you'll see how the Unity apps going to cope with a very, very large project next. So here I am on the Vectorworks Nomad app on my iPad. And just before we have a look at another project, I just wanted to show you how easy it is to view PDFs as well. So you can see it just downloading really quickly, and those PDFs that we generated in the previous sort of demonstration for this Eco Home project are available. So again, easy for you to share your drawings now with your clients, and very convenient as opposed to them having to print drawings off or, you know, maybe sit around the computer. They can actually just view those at home at the comfort with their iPad or phone. Okay, so what we're going to now do is just go back and look at another project. And this is a really interesting project that I did a number of years ago, and it's called Wharf. Basically, it was a big master plan project for the next stage of Canary Wharf development, and it was all modelled in Vectorworks. I have to tell you, it was done in about 2006, so it's nice to revisit this project. But the reason I'm showing you this is because this is probably the largest or most complicated 3D project I've done in an old version of Vectorworks, and even now it works extremely well. So you can see here I am navigating around in Vectorworks Nomad in the walk mode. You can see I can just navigate around really nicely, and basically it's very responsive. This is giving us a huge improvement in performance using the Unity-based viewer, and you can see I'm able to cut sections even through what is a very large model, quite complex in lots of ways. There's lots of geometry here, and it's a really, really big project that I just really wanted to demonstrate the power of the new viewer on. So using things like sections, I can navigate around and I can still play around with things like the view, lighting. If I click this button on the side, you can see I can turn the clip cube on and off with a click. While you're navigating around, you can click on the home button to just reset the view at any time, and that does help sometimes if you get a bit lost when you're navigating around. Now here we go, you can see I'm demonstrating the lighting direction and also things like the shadows as well in this new view, and it works extremely quickly and rapidly. So let me show you how easy it is to share the file. All we need to do is click share. You can see who you've currently shared with me appearing there already, of course. And basically I can just type in the email, or I can just copy and paste, which is a bit easier. So info@jonathanreeves-cad.co.uk. I can give the approvals, click OK, and now you can see that I've shared with that particular person, which is excellent. If I do want to, I can click back on the home button and click who I have shared with. So you can see all the things that have been shared with you and that you have shared as well. So very, very nice way to share your projects and your files with other users and collaborators. So I really hope you've enjoyed learning about the Vectorworks Cloud Services and the numerous improvements to that, and also the Nomad application. So just to finish off, I thought I'd let you know that there's a tutorial on this particular Wharf master plan project, And you can see here's some nice material that I prepared for the Twinmotion Challenge a couple of years ago, using my Vectorworks model and taking it off into Twinmotion. So I thought this would be a nice way to end off, and thanks for watching, and I look forward to hearing from you with any comments or questions.